Hello, everyone, and welcome to the finals of the Kenosha, Wisconsin City Championship. On the left, we have two-time world champion Jason Klaczynski, and on the right, you got some chump in a red jacket named Kyle. So this should be an interesting matchup. Of course, is the finals. This was a fairly large city championship in my hometown. And yeah, it's gonna be my Ho-Oh deck versus Jason's Blastoise Keldeo, which is always gonna be an interesting matchup because it involves Ho-Oh, and that just makes games very complicated and intense. So I do get to go first this game, and I start with a computer search. Jason has told me that I start with my computer search 90% of the time when I play against him, so I started with it here again. And right away, I'm just going to go for my Sigilyph. Since in this matchup, it's actually pretty difficult for the Blastoise Keldeo deck to deal with Sigilyph. It takes them quite a while. It takes 4 energy to Hydro Pump with Blastoise, because, Safeguard doesn't allow Keldeo to hit you. And that forces them to attack with Blastoise. So it takes 4 energy from Blastoise to Hydro Pump. But if there's an Eviolite on the Sigilyph, that actually makes a 5 energy Hydro Pump. And Jason is just saying, Jesus, let it be prized one time, alright? And he puts it into my prizes. And I was like, alright, I appreciate the humor, but dude, that could have mixed in with one of my prizes. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty friendly match. We know each other very well. We'll see what happens. Going to be, it's going to be serious. We both really want to win. This is the finals of a city championship. There's a lot on the line, but, we're friends. We'll have fun. And, yeah, we'll see what happens. So I did have the advantage of going first. I got a Psychic Energy onto my Sigilyph, which is big. I don't play too many of those. So being able to have that and drop the Psychic on the Sigilyph immediately is huge. I can threaten a turn 2 Psychic, which, it doesn't do a ton of damage. But it kind of pings away at a Keldeo and then sets it up for a later knockout. And really, it just eventually, it's going to make it an easier knockout for something like a Mewtwo or maybe a Bouffalant, something like that, just to make it easy for me to knock something out eventually. And, if Jason doesn't have a catcher, he's going to need a Blastoise to knock out the Sigilyph. And it takes a lot of resources to do that. So that's just kind of the strange dynamic of this matchup. Now, I did start with a Terrakion, which is not my preferred starter. I mean, it's okay. It's much better than a Ho-Oh, but it's still worse than, Sigilyph, or maybe even Mewtwo would be better. Bouffalant would be better, but, Terrakion is okay. It's just annoying because he's got that 4 retreat cost, which makes it difficult to get him out of that active spot unless you have a switch. So it forces me to have a switch. That's just the downside to starting with the big bad Terrakion. Now Jason gets a Tropical Beach out there. He played a Skyla for it. And I'm just kind of debating, do I want to put another Eviolite down? And I do. I want to make these knockouts as difficult as possible for him. And I have to end him because, well, I don't have a very good hand. And you always want to end your opponent after a Tropical Beach if you can. Because, well, they're going to have a lot of cards. And they're probably going to have a lot of cards that they were sitting on that they wanted to have. I didn't actually look at Jason's hand, but I just always assume after a Tropical Beach he's going to have a Rare Candy and a Blastoise. Maybe he didn't hear, but, he could have. So I just wanted to end that away, make it more difficult for him to have the Rare Candy and the Blastoise and get a turn 2 Secret Sword. Now, I was hoping, to get just something out here, to get a switch, honestly. But instead I got a really bad hand. I didn't get any supporters. I'm going to have to just kind of pass the turn, but thankfully Tropical Beach is out there. This can help me a lot. I'm going to be able to Tropical Beach and refill my hand up to 7. So sometimes you just got to be aware of what your opponent has as well. And, I'm just going to, even though I don't really want to bench stuff too early, I kind of need to just so I can Tropical Beach for a bunch of cards. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Now, in this matchup, you have to be very careful as the Ho-Oh player not to bench too many things. And basically you have to put it so, alright, they have to take 6 prizes the most difficult way possible. So I'm going to say, alright, you know, I'm going to need to attack with Mewtwo's at some point. He is just kind of my main attacker in this matchup. If I don't attack with Mewtwo, I'm probably going to lose. So I'm just going to feel free to put down 2 Mewtwo's. I don't care about that. But I also want him to knock out 2 non-EX Pokemon, and I want one of those to be the Sigilyph, because, well, that's going to... It takes so much to knock out a Sigilyph. If you're using the Blastoise deck, you have to get a Blastoise out, then you have to devote 4 or 5 energy to it. And then if you do that, Mewtwo just comes up and X-Balls your Blastoise, and you lose 5 energy and a Blastoise. And that's just devastating. So I want to force him to have to do that at some point. And that's why you just kind of have to play your bench intelligently. That's why starting with Terrakion is not that cool, because, you know, he's just, you're kind of forced to use him as your non-EX in this matchup. But we do see an Ultra Ball from Jason. He has not really gotten a Blastoise, so I'm going to assume he doesn't really have one. He's going to take a second Squirtle. He was going for a Mewtwo, decided to go for the Squirtle instead. So it looks like kind of a slow start for him, which I am thankful for. He's going to put down another Keldeo and another Squirtle, but actually he has a Juniper. He has to discard another Ultra Ball, kind of costly, but we'll see. And we'll see if he gets the Rare Candy and Blastoise this turn. If he does, that'll be kind of devastating for me. And yes, there's the Rare Candy. And oh, he's got to evolve the right Squirtle. God forbid. He just did bench the other one. Not like that makes any difference. But, yeah, he can get a turn 2 Secret Sword here. Even after the N. Even after, you know, discarding a bunch of Ultra Balls. He just drew right into it. Now, if he has a catcher here, he's got to decide. Do I want to just hit the Terrakion for 90? Or do I want to catch up a Mewtwo and hit that for 110? It's a big difference. Hitting the Terrakion for 90 really doesn't do a whole lot. It's like you really didn't even do anything this turn. So if you're just going to do that, you might as well just maybe use Tropical Beach instead. It's a weird decision. You know, in the grand scheme of things, hitting for 90 on a Terrakion is not really going to advance your position very much. You're not going to get a prize. You're not really setting up for anything big. It's not like Terrakion gives up 2 prizes, so Jason actually realizes this. And he also realizes that I really don't want to use my catchers because I need to save them to get around Sigilyph. At this point in time, Jason was using a list with, I believe, 3 Pokemon catchers. So it's a resource he has to hold on to. And now we got... I got a switch, so I'm just going to switch into Sigilyph. I'm going to put a Psychic on the Mewtwo, just kind of preparing for the inevitable. I have a catcher. I'm just going to go ahead and use that on the Keldeo EX with the 3 energy on it already. That way I can soften it up real quick, hit a Psychic for 80 damage as opposed to 50, since Psychic does 50 plus 10 for each energy on the defending Pokemon. And there we go, just going to Psychic for 80. And we'll see what happens from here. A lot of weird things can happen. Now, this is a clear advantage for me. I get the first hit in on an EX. It's surely going to get knocked out in 2 hits. But can Jason kind of take back the advantage? He could do that by maybe catching out a Mewtwo and dropping 3 more energy on that Keldeo. Then he could just Secret Sword, take the first 2 prizes, and kind of set me on the back foot. That would be kind of annoying. Yeah, I guess that would be his way to do that. And if he can pull that off, he's going to take the first 2 prizes and just kind of nullify my advantage of the first attack. Now, if he can't do that, then I'm definitely going to have the advantage, because he's not going to be able to take a prize otherwise this turn. Maybe he can knock out Terrakion, that's not that big of a deal, though. And then I'll be able to knock him out with Sigilyph. So this can be a very complicated matchup when it comes down to it. Lots of math involved, lots of simple combat math, lots of planning ahead, lots of making sure you use the attackers in the right order, all of this stuff, making sure you don't bench too many things. And on my side, the biggest thing is going to be drawing double colorless energy. That is my biggest resource in this kind of a matchup. just because really all my attackers in this matchup, they require those precious DCE. You know, Psychic takes 2 colorless energy. X-Ball is powered by DCE. Even Bouffalant, the Gold Breaker, is powered by DCE. So all of these things are very, very important. And I need to, I need to draw into my double colorless at the right time. Jason, he played a computer search, and he grabbed, I believe he grabbed a Juniper from that. And then he plays a Skyla. This is kind of an interesting play on his behalf. I'm not too sure what he's actually doing with this. I guess he's just kind of playing the computer search, thinning his hand out, and then just kind of preparing for next turn in case he gets end. You know, it's not a bad play if you're going to be end, if you're going to take 2 prizes this turn, but it's only good if he can take those 2 prizes this turn. So he's going to catch her up. Let's see. Just going to take a look at my discard pile and just see what's in there. He's going to catch her up Mewtwo, and yes, this means he has the 6 energy. And, okay, so the computer search was just to discard 2 excess cards and get a Juniper into his hand. And the order he did it makes it seem not very suspicious. It's kind of cool. I'm not really worried about him having a lot of stuff in his hand because his hand was so low. He played a Skyla afterwards. I think maybe he might have computer searched for like a water energy to finish me off, or maybe the catcher. I don't really know what's in his hand. So he did that very well. But of course, if I have an N, I'm going to play it. But it does not look like I have an N. I just have a Juniper. So I'm just going to attach a Fighting onto my Mewtwo. And I guess we're just going to Psychic for the knockout. Now that there's 6 energy on there, I can do 110 damage. And we're going to take that knockout. And, oh, I'm actually going to go for a Juniper. Discarding a Ho and a Catcher and a DCE. Now, I decided to attach the Fighting to the Mewtwo instead of the DCE. There's a weird reason I did that. Now, it's because if Jason puts down his own Mewtwo and then targets down mine, it's going to take him 4 energy to X-Ball that for a knockout. And with 4 energy, now the Psychic will do 90 damage, which times 2 is 180. So I'd actually prefer, in case of the catcher, to have just a Fighting on my Mewtwo instead of the DCE. That's kind of being paranoid, I think. I think overall it was probably better to just put the double colorless on there. But it also gives me an energy to energy switch off, maybe if I want to use Terrakion at some point. So I don't know, it could go either way. Looking back, knowing Jason's list, knowing he's already played a catcher and all that stuff, I would probably just put down the DCE. That seems like the better move at this point. And also, it's going to be very tough for him to pull off a knockout anyway on my Mewtwo. Like, he would need to have 1 energy to, like, retreat Squirtle. He'd need 4 more energy. He'd need a catcher. And it's just not too feasible at this point. So sometimes I do play a little too conservatively with Mewtwo. A little... I mean, just... I almost make it more difficult for myself to win just because I try to avoid these kind of risks. And this one is certainly not going to pay off. So now Jason is coming to a decision. What do I want to do? He doesn't seem like he has a catcher. He's got the Blastoise up there. He needs 5 water to Hydro Pump for the knockout because he needs to do 110 with that Eviolite on there. So he's just kind of debating, do I want to go for that, or do I want to try to load up a Keldeo and get another catcher and try to win that way, and then eventually win with Blastoise. It's an interesting dilemma. Now, he's going to just go ahead and go for the Blastoise, I suppose. He's going to Deluge, that is Blastoise's ability. Just allows you to attach as many energy as you want per turn. Water energy, that is. And let's see if he needs the 5th water to get a knockout here. He's definitely got one. He's also got an energy retrieval, so he'll be able to unload a bunch of energy. And yeah, go from there. So there's an energy retrieval. He can get 2 water back from the discard pile. And then probably just 1 on the Blastoise for sure. That's what he needs to knock me out. And then, a couple more on a Keldeo, just because Blastoise is probably going to get knocked out by X-Ball. Might as well do that. Now the problem for Jason is going to be, does he have another Blastoise? That can be troublesome if he doesn't get another one in play. He just won't be able to Deluge anymore. And this is where Sigilyph is worth its weight in gold. Just forcing him to do that, forcing him to waste all those resources is so huge. And now I'm going to be able to just put a medal on Mewtwo. See, this is where having the DC on the Mewtwo would have been all of the difference. And I really wish I did have it on there. But I don't. And no use dwelling on that now. I have a decision on what I want to do. Do I want to bench a Bouffalant? Do I not want to? Do I want to end Jason? I think the answer is yes to the N. Since I'm going to be knocking out Blastoise, I want to take away as many options as I can. And there we go. There's the N. Now, it's going to be tricky. He can still draw out of this. And, you know, if he gets another Blastoise into play, I'll probably end up losing. But what's going to happen is I'll knock out the Blastoise. He'll hit me with the Keldeo. And then I'll just X-Ball him. And then I'll probably follow up with Terrakion maybe. And if he doesn't get Blastoise out, he's just not going to have enough energy to beat me. He won't be able to attach enough to win the game. If he does get Blastoise out, he'll probably be able to attach enough energy to win the game. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to X-Ball here for 140. The math works out very nicely when, you know, your Sigilyph has an Eviolite. I did see Jason drew a Bianca for the turn, so that's going to be really useful. And let's see, I think he's asking me how many catchers I have used. Just debating whether or not he should bench another Squirtle, just so he can draw an extra card from that Bianca. And yeah, a lot of it's just going to come down to what he draws here. And he's putting down another Squirtle. Maybe not. Tough to tell. And thinking about it. Some of these turns are going to take a while, guys. I apologize for that. The finals were actually untimed, believe it or not. The tournament organizer, Pat Fuse, gave us as much time as we wanted to finish off this match. It's pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see if Jason got the rare candy and the Blastoise. If he did, it's going to be tough for me to deal with. But even if he didn't, I mean, he's still got another turn to do it. He's just going to leave the Squirtle out there. And, alright. Looks like I'm going to get Secret Sorted for 90 damage. And, alright. I guess that's what's happening here. Oh, he's still thinking about benching another Squirtle. Now, it's a weird spot now because I could just catcher out Squirtle. And then I can X-Ball one for a knockout. That is something I could do. So he knows this. He knows, alright, I could just get X-Ball. I could lose my Blastoise option, and then I might just lose because I can't attach enough energy with Deluge. But here I'm going to Ultra Ball away a Tool Scrapper and a Juniper. We'll see what I grab. I might just grab a Ho-Oh to discard. I actually don't know if I have any Ho-Ohs in the discard pile yet. I think there might be one. But yeah, I'm just going to grab another Pokemon here. I probably have another Juniper. That's why I'm discarding this one with the Ultra Ball. And it's kind of a weird decision to make here. I think ideally I should just X-Ball the active Keldeo this turn. If I do that, I can... I mean, he's gone through so many energy at this point, and so many energy retrievals. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to even power up one more attacker. It really is. So I should, at this point, I should shift my strategy towards, alright, I need to knock out the Pokemon that has the energy on it. That's all there is to it. But, you know, that Squirtle is very tempting as well, to go down to 2 prizes, and then leave myself with only the Keldeo to knock out. So I don't know. There's really no option to knock out his active this turn. You know, I could get... well, actually, I could have if I drew the right combination of cards. You know, I drew 1 energy switch. If I would have gotten... You know, if I would have used the Ho-Oh in my discard pile and rebirthed, and then moved a bunch of my energy to the active, I could have pulled something off there. But I decided not to. And, oh, I decided to catch out Squirtle. I don't actually like this play at all. I think I made a big mistake here. That was a dumb move, Kyle. You should not do that next time. You should not be a scrub. But no, I decided to go down to 2 prizes. I was just kind of hoping he would run out of steam. I was thinking that he just wouldn't have enough to, take 2 more knockouts. But he might. I mean, all he needs to do now is attach, and then attach next turn, and then it's just a catcher, and the game is over. He can knock out that Terrakion, and there's nothing I can really do about it. So, again, I much prefer just going after the Keldeo that turn, hitting it with X-Ball for maybe 100, attaching somewhere else, and then finishing it off the next turn, because he can't have too much energy left. He's used a bunch of energy already. And you can just kind of see he's like counting how many cards he has left. And he wants me to count out how many ends and energy switches I've used, I think. So we're going to do that here. There's 2 ends and 1 energy switch. Wow. So yeah, I had a lot of cards left to work some magic. And as you can see in my hand, though, I really don't have much to work with. If I had like all those resources, if I had like 3 energy switches in my hand, I could just rebirth, get a Ho-Oh out there, move 3 energy to Mewtwo, drop a double colorless, and then maybe knock out his Keldeo, and then I could win. But I don't. I have a Ho-Oh, I have a Bouffalant, and yeah, that's what I got. So Jason here, he's going to Ultra Ball. He does have a Juniper, so I guess he's just gonna see if he can afford to do it. Because if he can afford to do it and draw a fresh 7 cards, get a Blastoise out, draw him to his catcher for next turn, yeah, I'm gonna lose, and that's kind of a scary thought. I had a good advantage early on. He took it back with that big 6 energy Keldeo EX knockout, and now who knows? He's going to grab a Mewtwo. Looks like he might take it. He's got a lot of cards left. It looks like there's a decent amount of water energy left. So not too much he has to worry about. Looks like at least 3 left. 2 catchers left as well. So yeah, I am actually in a lot of trouble. There's also a Rare Candy and a Blastoise in there. So if I had to guess, I would say I'd lose this game at this point. I think I screwed up big with the catcher on the Squirtle. Should have just hit his Keldeo for 100. Should have taken that route. But I didn't. And now I'm going to pay for it. Unless I can end him or come up with a huge Mewtwo knockout on his Keldeo EX next turn, I'm going to lose. And that's all there is to it. He's got a Juniper in his hand. There's too much stuff to work with. That's just the way it is. Now for Jason, he's just kind of debating, do I put a 4th energy on my Keldeo? Because if I do, I could pull off some rebirth shenanigans. A couple energy switches, all it takes for an X-Ball to knock me out. So this is a very difficult decision. Do you put the 4th energy on there? If you do, it makes it easier for you to draw a water and a catcher next turn to knock out the Terrakion for the last prize. If you don't, we're just saying if he does attach the 4th energy, it's going to allow him to just attach one more time manually. He needs 5 to knock out the Terrakion with the Eviolite. So then, all he needs to draw next turn is a catcher and a water, and he Secret Swords for the game. Now, if he doesn't attach, he's less vulnerable to X-Ball, but it also forces him to have a Rare Candy, a Blastoise, and then the 2 waters and the catcher. But knowing that I have 3 energy switches left, it's kind of a tough decision to make. And I guess we'll find out right here. He's also got the Mewtwo in his hand. He's deciding not to put it down. I guess there's a potential for a side drive knockout. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's a potential thing. And alright, he's just going to attach the 4th water, which I actually do like better. I think this is his best play here. And he's got 2 Junipers in his hand. He's debating whether or not to play one. And it's probably best for him not to. He's just worried about N at this point. If he gets N to 1, he wants the best odds of drawing out of it. Drawing anything immediately this turn will not help him. He also gets a Skyla out of the prizes, so here we go. Do I draw what I need? I draw Bianca. So this could be a huge turn. It's going to come down to rebirths, maybe. If I can get heads on rebirth, this could be huge. There are a bunch of energy switches left. I also play plus power. I don't know. This is going to be an exciting finish. I think there's only one Ho-Oh in the discard pile, so first things first, we're going to have to see, do I actually draw, or do I actually get heads on it? Because if I do, then that's going to open up some options. If I don't, then I'm probably not going to be able to do anything. So I'm just going to take a look through his discard pile and count how many like water energy are left, how many retrievals are left, how many catchers are left. Basically just try to understand where I am at this game. How much time do I actually have left to win? And here we go. Here's the rebirth. And it is Tails. Ho-Oh is not coming into play here. So instead, I'm just going to have to kind of... I don't really know. I guess I really just have to hope he does not have a catcher. There's no use kind of risking anything else. I could have Bianca'd for one, but that's not really worth it. And he didn't play any supporters last turn, so I wasn't really expecting anything. And yeah, now all it's going to take is a water and a catcher, and the game is over. You know, if I knew what his hand was, I probably would have been a little more assertive, or a little more aggressive. And he's showing me I can Skyla. That'll get me a catcher, but that's not a win. I can get an energy retrieval, that's not a win. So he's going to have to Juniper and go for it. He's actually got 4 supporters in his hand. And he just needs a water and a catcher, and the game is over. So here we go. 7 cards. Does he draw it here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's a water, and there's a catcher. So Jason will take the first game. It's a nail biter. That is just how all these games are going to be with this matchup. And that's only the first one. It's the best 2 out of 3 series. I got a lot more talking to do. We got a lot more Pokemon to play. And hopefully I'll be able to rebound in this next game. You know, I do believe I made a big mistake catching out that Squirtle that one turn. Should not have done that. But I did. And I missed that rebirth. That was also very big. But that's just the game. And well played by Jason. He definitely deserved the win. And he takes that first game. And he's 1 game away from ending my winning streak here. And taking the Kenosha City Championship in my hometown. Not too happy about that, but that's just the way it is. Now, going into the second game, it's kind of a mixed feeling for me. On one hand, I know that he did get a turn 2 Blastoise, turn 2 Secret Sword. I did start with Terrakion, and the game was still very close. But, you know, this is such a weird matchup that I really just don't know what to expect. So, anything can happen. I know I could just as easily win the next 2 games. I could also just lose this game. You know, this is probably a 50-50 matchup. I'm facing one of the best players in the world. Maybe the best player in the history of the game. And so, I'm just going to go in and play my game, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to make every decision I can. I'm not really nervous about it. I've played in many, many tournaments. I know that whatever happens here, I'm just going to do my best. And it's a card game. There's luck involved. And, yeah, just getting stressed out is not worth it. Just go ahead, go in it with kind of a cool head, and we will see what happens. So both of us are shuffling up quite a bit as we get set up here for game number 2. And we're going to see... Well, the first thing is who goes first. You know, I did lose the first game, so I have the option to go first. Or I could let him go first. You know, it's an interesting decision, you know. If I go first, then I have no disadvantages at all. And if he goes first, I could let him have an advantage. But I decided to go first. Now, I'm going to Ultra Ball on the first turn. Just going to get rid of an N and a Switch. I guess this is probably just to get a Ho in the discard so I can Juniper. I definitely want to draw a double Cautless this turn to start using X-Ball right off the bat if I can. I'm just going to take a look through my deck to see what's in there. See if there's like an energy switch in there. Or I just want to see what's prized, what's in my deck, what's not. See if Sucevich is in there, that's the big one. Since I'm only playing one Sucevich, I just want to see if it's in there or not. So I decided to grab a Ho-Oh. Don't bench it. And then I'm going to Juniper this turn. The reason I did that instead of playing N was just to get Ho-Oh in the discard pile, first of all. And second of all, so I could go for a turn 1 X-Ball with a double colorless. Now I have to decide, is it actually worth it to get a turn 1 X-Ball? I have the computer search, and yeah, I decided it's worth it. I'm going to have to use that computer search for the double colorless. Is it worth hitting for 40? It can actually set up a lot of cute plays with knockouts later, if the Keldeo only has 3 energy on it. So I think it's actually worth it to go for the X-Ball for 40 here. It's worth computer searching there. And I'm just going to be aggressive right off the bat. That also opens up a play where I can, if he only has 1 Squirtle out there, I could catch out the Squirtle and X-Ball it. And I'll leave myself with a supporter too. So all is well. This is a pretty strong start from me. And honestly, Mewtwo is one of the best ways to deal with the Blastoise Keldeo deck. And oh, right off the bat, Jason has to Juniper away. Ugh, a Skyla, a Bianca, and 4 water energy. He decides not to even attach to the active Keldeo because he realizes it's just going to be, an X-Ball for more damage. So, looking at that first turn, I'm just thinking, alright, we're in good shape. I can't ask for a much better start there. Getting a turn 1 X-Ball and then having Jason Juniper away 3 supporters and 4 energy. I can deal with that. So Jason is just going to attach to his Mewtwo and pass. Now that's kind of risky, I could have a catcher and a double colorless and then knock out his Mewtwo with X-Ball. I think the riskier part is that he has no real threat to knock me out anytime soon. So the fact that the Mewtwo is just going to sit there with an energy on it, that's going to be very, very big. At some point, I think I'm just going to be able to knock that out. So he's just kind of putting it there in preparation for just kind of to say, don't load up your Mewtwo too fast. I might have an answer if you do that. But really, that's all he can do. He's actually going to put another energy on this Mewtwo, which is really risky. Obviously, all I need now is a catcher and an extra energy, and I can just take a knockout. So that's kind of an interesting move on his part. And I'm definitely going to be going for a catcher this turn now. I had an N that I didn't play the previous turn, and I'm actually just going to go for the energy switch. Because even if I miss the catcher, there's no way he can retreat his Keldeo. It takes 2 to retreat, and then he's just showing me his abysmal hand once again. It was 3 waters, a rare candy, and a Juniper, so you had to discard even more water there. But yeah, even if I miss the catcher here, I'm in no danger of being knocked out. He doesn't play double colorless, he doesn't play switch, he doesn't have a Blastoise in play, he cannot retreat. So I'm just going to X-Ball for 60 if, I don't draw the catcher. No harm, no foul. And I did not draw the catcher. So I'm just going to say, yeah, whatever. I'll live with it. Not the end of the world. I'll just continue to rack up damage on your Keldeo EX. 60 more. I'll put it up to, what will that be? 80 plus 60 is 140. Which is alright in my book. So yeah, I have to feel like at this point that I'm just going to blow him out this game. That Keldeo is an easy 2 prizes. The Mewtwo is an easy 2 prizes. So basically all I have to do is take 2 prizes extra to win the game. And I'm fairly confident I can pull that off just with Mewtwo by itself. It's been a very, very bad start for Jason. And pretty much an almost perfect one from me, the best I could hope for. So yeah, I'm feeling very confident. I realize that anything can happen, but feeling confident. Especially because Jason actually does not play N in his Blastoise deck. He decided not to play any because he figures, you know what, if I just draw everything, I'm going to win. If I just get a Keldeo EX with 6 energy on it, I'm going to beat pretty much everything. So I'll just rather play draw supporters like Bianca. I would just rather max out on Skyla. play a bunch of tropical beaches, make sure that I can just set up as quickly as possible, and try to win that way. I don't need N. I can just win my own way. So now he's going to play an Ultra Ball here. He has a Skyla and a Bianca. He decides to discard the Skyla. I guess he's just going to go for the Bianca this turn. He's going to grab probably another Squirtle, or I guess he could grab a Blastoise. It's kind of a weird decision. He can't evolve into Blastoise. So certainly just put down that Squirtle. He's just going to take a look through his deck, see what he has, and we'll see what he decides to take. He's taking the Blastoise. I guess he kind of thinks, you know what, if you're going to catcher out something, it's going to be my Mewtwo. I actually don't care if you catcher my Squirtle, because then I get to X-Ball your Mewtwo. So I'm just going to take the Blastoise, play the Bianca, and then hope to draw a rare candy next turn. And hope you don't end me. So he's going to draw his 3. Looks like we have another Mewtwo. So he's going to put another Mewtwo down. And at this point I'm thinking, alright, this game is pretty much wrapped up. I can win a Mewtwo war. I can knock out a Keldeo that has 140 damage on it already. I'm pretty sure this game is wrapped up. But I do need to draw a catcher this turn. That's still not something I have. So it's kind of scary. Gonna Ultra Ball away an Eviolite and a Tool Scrapper. See what I decide to grab. Grab a third Mewtwo, just saying, you know what? You want it to come to this? Alright. Let's do it. I don't have any problems just trading Mewtwo's the rest of the game, because I'm going to get the first knockout. And this is all Pokemon can dumb down to sometimes. Herp Derp Mewtwo, that's all we got. Yeah. That's really all there's to it. I have a Super Scoop Up in my hand. I'm just going to play it, I guess, to just kind of get rid of it. And I get Tails. I think there's a Bianca as well. So I'm going to go for the catcher this turn. Hopefully I get it. And no, I don't get it. So that's kind of annoying, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. I should have enough energy to work with for the rest of the game to be able to pull this game off anyway. Even if I lose a Mewtwo with 3 energy, that's not the end of the world. And I do have a switch. I could just switch and put a DC on that other Mewtwo and hit for 40 and take the knockout. Looks like I'm actually going to retreat this Mewtwo. This is kind of getting fancy. You don't really need to do this at this point. But I guess I'm just kind of forcing him to put 3 energy on a Mewtwo at this point. And go, alright, if you're going to put a 3rd energy on your Mewtwo, that's going to make it even more difficult to win a war here. Because if you have to put 3 on your first Mewtwo, then I only need 2 to respond with X-Ball. And then you need 3 with your Mewtwo, and then I only need 2 to respond with my X-Ball. So basically I'm taking away his option to attack me with a Mewtwo with only 2 energy. Pretty simple. And like I said, this is a war that I'm fully expecting to win. I have plenty of cards. I'll have enough energy in play to pull it off. And I'm not really worried about it at all. As long as I can just attach an energy every turn, or even get an energy switch with a Ho-Oh Rebirth, that's it. I just have to knock out 2 more Mewtwo's and I win. And it doesn't look like Jason actually has a whole lot. I don't think he got the rare candy, so he doesn't even have a Blastoise. And that's just going to make things even more difficult for him. And again, I know he does not play N, so I don't even have to worry about that. I also have an N of my own if I just want to disrupt him a little bit. So I'm going to Ultra Ball and discard. I'm actually just going to get rid of my N, just knowing that he doesn't play N. Just, you know, I know if I just draw enough energy, I'm going to win this game. And he cannot disrupt me, because I know his list. I know he does not play any N's to make me shuffle my hand in. So I'm just going to do what I can to, you know, draw as many cards as possible and win the game. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to Bianca for 3 here, and then X-Ball for a knockout. I do have an energy switch in my hand. I have an Eviolite for Sigilyph, just in case. And there we go. There's an X-Ball. We'll probably just see 1 more X-Ball, and I'll probably just win the game. That is all this has come down to. And yeah. So this has been a pretty uneventful game. This can happen sometimes with Stage 2 decks. You know, even with Skyla and Tropical Beach and all that stuff, you do need the Rare Candy and the Blastoise in your hand to win. And sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you just don't get it all. And this is exactly what can happen in one of those games. Now we do see a level ball for another Squirtle. Jason is still going to try. I mean, I guess there's still some hope he could get, like, Rare Candy, Blastoise, 6 energy on a Keldeo, knock me out this turn, and then I just don't have the energy to follow up with a knockout. That is a possibility. But that's still pretty unlikely. He could do something where he just kind of, like, rotates between Keldeos and only hits with 3 energy Keldeos, and then just kind of hopes I don't have a catcher. There are some weird little ways to come back, but I think at this point it's too late. I really do. So I guess he's going for an Ultra Ball here. He might have a Rare Candy now. He's going to discard a Squirtle and a catcher. He's going to grab a Blastoise. So yeah, he definitely is going to get that into play this turn. Finally. You know, it only took him the whole game, but he got a Blastoise out there. And then he's going to rush in, play a Tropical Beach, and then draw 6. Alright, so I have the catcher, the energy switch, and the energy to just catcher out Mewtwo. Energy switch up to Mewtwo. Play another energy X-Ball for 200, and that will be game number 2. So, the first game was very close and exciting, and the second game not so much. But we will move on to a final deciding game number 3 here in the finals of the Kenosha, Wisconsin City Championship. It's going to be a nail-biter. It's going to be probably a long, drawn-out game. But whoever wins will earn it, will deserve it, and be crowned the Kenosha, Wisconsin City Championship. No, not the champion, the city champion. You will win the city championship. Sorry, this is a long match. And also I have to mention that both of us, when we played this, were extremely tired. Jason actually came by my house to play test the night before. He stayed over. Probably slept for about 2 hours, went to the tournament, played the whole day. A very long day. I believe 7 rounds of Swiss, top 8. And yeah, we were both just kind of miserable at this point. It was just a long, long day. And then we got to play each other in the finals. And I'm not going to say anything, but, you know, Jason, he's not exactly the speediest player out there. So the turns get kind of long. And the games just kind of drag on. So if we make mistakes, that's just because we are so tired at this point. I think I made a mistake in the first game, probably due to fatigue. But it all comes down to this, the third and final game. We'll see who comes out on top as we shuffle. Now, Jason did lose the second game, so he gets to decide who goes first in the third game. So he will have that advantage. He's going to be looking to get a much better start in this game. The first game, he got a turn 2 Secret Sword. The second game, he did not. Well, he had the cards to get a turn 2 Secret Sword the first game, but he actually decided to beach and draw more cards instead. But yeah, you know what I mean. First game, he had a turn 2 Blastoise. Second game, he had a turn 8 Blastoise. It's a big difference. So, okay, he's going to start with a Keldeo, and I will start with Mewtwo. Alright, this is one of my preferred starters in the matchup. So I am not going to complain about that one at all. And we'll see what he does. He's got a colorful hand there. He's got some energy, he's got some supporters, he's got an Ultra Ball, all this stuff. We'll see what plan of action he decides to take. One thing he could do is he could Ultra Ball for a Squirtle, Skyla for a Tropical Beach, and then go that route. He could just Ultra Ball for a Squirtle and then play a Juniper, draw 7 new cards, see what he gets. So there are a lot of options in his hand. Jason's list for this deck is just purely consistent. There's no tricks involved. There's no nothing involved. It's just I'm going to try to get a Blastoise as soon as possible. And I'm going to get a bunch of water energy into play. And that's it. I'm going to max out on supporters. I'm going to play a bunch of Tropical Beaches. And yeah, that's all it takes. And if I can set up, I'm going to win. And that's fairly true for the most part. If you can just get a quick Blastoise with a bunch of energy on a Keldeo EX and Secret Sword, you're going to win a lot of games. That's how he got to the finals. So he's just going to Skyla for a level ball. I actually didn't notice, but he has a perfect hand. He has a rare candy, I believe. Yeah, it's a rare candy, an Ultra Ball, 2 water, and a Bianca. So he's just going to take this hand and go, alright, I'm going to Skyla for level ball, grab a Squirtle, and when you Skyla for level ball, in my head I'm thinking, oh, he's got a turn 2 Blastoise. Uh-oh. I need to end him immediately. If I don't, turn 2 Blastoise is coming, and I cannot deal with that. So, whenever someone Skylas just grabs a level ball, that raises some flags in my head. But we'll see. He's going to put down that Squirtle. We'll see if he attaches an energy. He might not even have to. He might not even want to. Because he could get X-Balled for 60 then instead of just 40. I'm not sure how much of a difference that actually makes, but... you know, if he's going to get the Blastoise anyway next turn, he might as well just hold on to it. And yeah, here I'm just like, okay, you either have a terrible hand, or you have the absolute perfect hand, and I'm just going to, you know, play it safe and say, I think you have a perfect hand. And, you know, he did. So I'm going to end him, and force him to shuffle in and draw a fresh 6 cards. Now, he could just redraw into everything, and in that case, it's whatever, but I am fairly confident that, you know, he has a perfect hand in that situation. He took way too long deciding what to grab, and then deciding to not even play an energy, you know, to just not have anything. So yeah, I was very skeptical, and for good reason, but I didn't even draw a DC, so I have to just attach a fighting and pass. So if he can pull off a turn 2 Secret Sword this turn, well, that would be this turn, turn 2. If he can pull it off, I'm going to be in a ton of trouble. I don't think I can win. Well, I can win, but I'm going to be very, very, very far behind. He's going to be able to get the first hit on me. All I can really do is X-Ball for 100. I'm going to give up the first 2 prizes. It's just not pretty. But here is a Juniper from Jason. He's kind of a painful Juniper, honestly. And yikes, that is not a very good hand at all. So he gets a ton of water energy, and then a Mewtwo, and then a Keldeo. And that's it. I think he actually has 4 water energy in his hand. Wow. And he's going to Tropical Beach for 3. Draw 3 extra cards to end his turn. And wow. That's not very good. So here I have to decide what I want to do. Definitely going to attach to my Mewtwo and X-Ball this turn. That is step number 1. But besides that, where do I want to go with this? I'm going to catch up the Keldeo EX with the 1 energy on it. Oh, I decide to N, and Jason rubs it in my face that he had a terrible hand. It was a Bianca, a Blastoise, a Retrieval, and 4 waters. Yikes. So if I didn't end him there, he probably just would have floundered around for a while and lost. Unless he top decked a rare candy, then his hand is actually perfect. Then his hand is just unbeatable. But yeah, unless he drew a rare candy or a Skyla or a computer search, that was going to be a really bad hand. And he wasn't going to be able to get out of it for a while because he couldn't really thin his hand out to Tropical Beach or even Bianca. So I kind of gave him a gift there, I suppose, but that's okay. We're going to get Sigilyph out here, and that's just kind of my safeguard, my safety net. Play on words, safeguard is the ability. The safeguard, in case I get X-Balled and knocked out this turn, you know, if he gets a rare candy and a Blastoise and all that stuff, I need to have a Pokemon there to prevent myself from getting benched out. So I throw down the Sigilyph as a means of protection, and now we'll see what Jason decides to do. So that X-Ball for 60 is a very big deal. Now if he attaches 2 more energy and Secret Swords me for 110, I can simply attach another energy and X-Ball him for 120, taking the first 2 prizes. And then I'm feeling very good about my position. You know, if he doesn't, I can just X-Ball him again. So yeah, things are looking up. Now Jason puts down a second Mewtwo. He's actually going to put an energy on it here. So he's not looking too confident with his hand. He might have to Juniper again. Ooh. He's going to discard a Skyla, a Juniper, a Beach, and a Retrieval. Drawing 7 cards. He's going to be going for a big play with Blastoise and Mewtwo this turn, I suppose. Now he gets the Ultra Ball. Does he have a rare candy? We'll see. So you can just see how kind of flimsy this kind of a matchup is. If he were to get a Blastoise out this turn and knock out my Mewtwo, I might be in some trouble. It's a lot of cards to pull it off, but he certainly could do it. And he's going for it. Here is the Blastoise. It's a little scary for me to see. I'm thinking, ooh, am I going to get knocked out this turn? That could be some trouble. I don't have any more energy in play. I just have a Sigilyph. That's not cool. But it looks like he's just going to be getting the Blastoise out here. He's going to rush in with his Keldeo. And Tropical Beach for a lot. So once again, not too eventful of a turn for Jason. And I breathe in a sigh of relief as I get to, kind of just build more energy on my board. And try to deal with his Pokemon. So he's going to Deluge and put another energy on a Mewtwo, just kind of preparing. He realizes eventually he's going to have to X-Ball at some point to deal with my Mewtwo's. So might as well do it now. Now, we'll see what I decide to do. A computer search, discarding a Ho-Oh and a Tool Scrapper. He does not play any tools, so Tool Scrapper is a worthless card in my deck in this matchup. I'm just going to try to look and see what do I want to take from this computer search. There's a lot of weird cards I could take. I might just be content with a Psychic Energy to put on Sigilyph, so I can start attacking with that in the near future. So that might be my best option. And it looks like that's exactly what I'm going to go for. I'm just going to take a look through my deck, see what's in there. I don't think I've had an opportunity to even search my deck yet this game. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So at this point, searching is just going to allow me to look for cards like how many double colorless do I have, how many energy switches do I have, how many catchers do I have. If I'm going to play a long drawn-out game, I need to know exactly how many resources I have. Even something as simple as how many psychic energy do I have, how many switches do I have plus power in there. All these different things, I need to all keep track of that in my mind so that as the game progresses, I don't have to play a guessing game and think, uh-oh, is something prized? And maybe overcommit to something when I shouldn't have to. So I'm going to put down Bouffalant, attach to Sigilyph, and then Bianca for a fresh 6 cards. And I'm feeling good about my spot. All I'm gonna be able to do is X-Ball for 40, honestly, but it's not the worst thing. I can at least set up a Keldeo for maybe a big hit from something later. And I'm just gonna take a look at his discard pile, see what he's got. I could consider just kind of like energy switching from my Mewtwo to my Bouffalant and just using Tropical Beach. I'd only draw like 2 cards from it. But X-Balling for 40 here, I don't know how much it's actually gonna do. I don't know if that actually sets up anything, and having an energy on my Bouffalant instead might be a better option. Just so I can Gold Breaker at some point. Gold Breaker will do 120. It will knock out that damaged Keldeo EX on the bench. So that is something to keep in mind. I would be in a bad position, I guess, if a Keldeo swooped in with 6 energy and knocked out my Mewtwo this turn. The other scenario of, Mewtwo knocking out my Mewtwo, that's not as bad. But it's still not a situation I want to deal with. And I'm just thinking, is it worth it just to X-Ball for 40 damage? To leave myself that vulnerable? Or would I rather have an energy sitting on the Bouffalant? And yes, that's a decision I'm going to make. A lot of people would just go, I'm just going to X-Ball for 40, what's the big deal? But I am going to take the safer route here. I'm going to just energy switch onto Bouffalant. I realize that, alright, if you're going to knock me out, you're going to need 6 energy on your Keldeo EX this turn. Odds are you're going to attack with the one that already has 60 on it. And then I can just Gold Breaker for the knockout. And then I don't have to use, like an EX to knock you out. If you attack me with your Mewtwo, that's going to take 4 energy. And then that will open you up for a Psychic knockout from Sigilyph. Since it'll do 50 plus 40 for the 4 energy on your Mewtwo, times 2, that'll do 180. And I'm happy knocking out a Mewtwo with a Sigilyph. I'm good with that. So I was just kind of giving myself the best play there to kind of weather any sort of storm that Jason would throw at me. Very complicated. This is kind of the stuff you can get into when you're playing Ho-Oh. If this were a matchup where I could just kind of put Ho-Oh into play and rebirth it, just to get some energy out there, it would be not as big of a deal. But this is a matchup where you cannot afford to use Ho-Oh unless it's for your last prize. Unless it's to rebirth and energy switch, get those crucial energy out there for your last prize. Because otherwise it's just going to get Catchered out and you're going to give up 2 free prizes. It's weak to water. Secret Sword will take that out of play immediately, and it's just going to be trouble. Now we do have a computer search from Jason. He discards a Blastoise and a Bianca. I don't believe he's taken anything yet. This is, it's a weird situation. It really is. For both of us. For him, it's, well, how do I attack this kind of a situation? He's probably thinking about all of the things I've thought about, you know, with the energy switch onto Bouffalant there. He's probably considered all the options as well. And he's just trying to figure out what the best one is. You know, the best one probably, if he could pull it off, would be to get 6 energy on his active Keldeo EX and then Secret Sword me for a knockout. That would make it extremely difficult for me to get a knockout this turn. And it would let Jason take the first 2 prizes. And that is no good. So yeah, we'll see what he decides to go for. What he actually has to work with. This is very, very complicated at this point. And he also has to think about, am I going to have enough resources as the game progresses to take all 6 of my prizes? Because he did have to discard some cards early on. I believe an energy retrieval or 2 he had to discard early on. He did discard some catchers early on as well. He's going to Skyla. Let's see to grab. It usually goes for an energy retrieval, but it's actually for a rare candy. That's kind of a strange move. Guess he just wants to get 2 Blastoises out while he still can. And, he actually, alright, so he's just going to Deluge, get 3 energy on his Keldeo EX, and I guess just Secret Sword for 110. So that was not really what I expected at all. And I am actually fine with this. I am absolutely fine with this. I can just X-Ball this turn for, 100 damage. That's going to set it up for either a Psychic knockout or either a Gold Breaker knockout. Both of those are fine in my book. So I'm content with this. I'm going to have plenty of options in the future to take this game down. I'm going to Ultra Ball away a Ho-Oh and a Metal just to get those in the discard pile. I guess I will grab another Mewtwo in the meantime. I don't think I should play it down this turn, but I'm just going to grab it. And yeah, I honestly feel like I'm in a very good position to win this game. Just knowing he has those Mewtwo's with the energy on there. There's that Keldeo EX with 60 on it already. I'm going to be able to X-Ball for 100 this turn. My 6 prizes are kind of laid out for me, as long as I have catchers. Which, I guess that's kind of an obstacle. But, if I draw them, I'll win. So again, here I'm just going to be fine with an X-Ball for 100. I'm thinking about whether or not to bench the Mewtwo. I don't think I should, like I've said before. I don't think that would be a good play. I don't want to open up some big play for him to just take another 2 prizes. I want to force him to knock out some EXs. And, alright, so there we go. X-Ball him for 100. Now, something weird that could come up is Blastoise. If I attack him with Sigilyph, he might respond with Blastoise. And then I might have to knock out Blastoise with Mewtwo. And then if I do that, that's weird. So we can get into some tricky situations. Blastoise can attack, believe it or not. Hydro Pump is a solid attack. Not the greatest one out there, but it does damage. And it does a lot of it. So, let's see. So he's got a water in hand. He's probably going to Deluge one onto Blastoise, anticipating having to knock out Sigilyph at some point. And then he's got a Juniper as well, so he might as well just go ahead and play his hand out. He's going to get a fresh hand of 7. That's a lot of water energy, by the way. A lot of water energy. So things definitely looking up for Jason now. He's got tons of stuff at his disposal. He's going to be able to Ultra Ball. He could discard that Squirtle, just kind of thin out some cards in his deck. Having that second Blastoise in play is nice because he can afford to sacrifice one to knock out a Sigilyph, and then he can still have an extra one back there to Deluge later on. So these next couple turns are honestly going to decide the game. Pretty much just we both got our guns ready, and we're gonna just blast away. And whoever comes out on top, whoever gets the last shot off, the last big shot, will end up winning the game. So here is an Ultra Ball. He's going to discard a Keldeo and a Squirtle. Again, just thinning out his deck. Grabbing another Squirtle. He doesn't really have that many cards left, honestly, and it's kind of scary for me because that means he can draw his whole deck very easily with Tropical Beach, and a lot of those are just water energy and catcher, and that's not something I would like to see. So let's see what Jason decides to do here. Is he going to drop the energy before he takes the knockout? He doesn't want to be end and then lose his energy. At the same time, if I could, catcher up Blastoise and knock it out before he could really do anything, that could be a problem for him. So yeah, lots of interesting decisions at work here. You don't want to devote too many energy to the Blastoise if you can't attack with it, because then it could just get knocked out by my Mewtwo's X-Ball. And then he might not have enough energy to follow up and knock out my next Sigilyph. And he could just lose that way. He's going to put 1 energy on his Blastoise. I think he's just kind of trying to calculate, alright, how many is kind of risk-proof? I think 3 is probably a good number, because then I would need 4 on a Mewtwo to knock him out. But he's just going to go with 2, and then Secret Sword for the knockout. And here comes Sigilyph. I do need a double colorless this turn to Psychic, otherwise I'm going to have to resort to Energy Switch, but I'm just going to go for it. We're going to N. I need that DCE off of my 6 cards to Psychic for the knockout. If I miss this here, that is not good. That is very ugly. But if I hit it here, perfect. I'll tie up the game, force him to have 3 energy to knock me out with his Blastoise, and I am fine with that. So I'm going to draw 6 cards. Jason will only get 4 from the end. You only get to draw for as many prize cards as you have. 5 and... Oh, the 6th card I draw my double colorless. That is huge. That's pretty cool for me. And yeah, that was very fortunate. It's a very tense moment there when you're like, oh god, I'm not going to draw it. And okay, the last card. So Psychic will knock out that Keldeo for 80 damage. And does Jason have the cards here to pull off a Hydro Pump knockout? He plays an Energy Retrieval, so that's going to mean yes. Definitely going to get knocked out this turn. And now I have to think, where am I going from here? It's going to Deluge, and one more Deluge he needs to get a knockout. Now, he could get a Tool Scrapper, I suppose. I don't know if he has cards to get one in his hand. I don't know if he has a supporter. But if he has a Tool Scrapper, that would actually be very, very important math. Because it allows you to only use 4 energy to Hydro Pump for a knockout. And wow, he's probably got about 10 cards left in his deck. So this is going to be extremely close. And honestly, if I draw all the cards I need, I'm going to win. That's just the way it is. If I can draw a Catcher, double colorless, Gold Breaker, that Keldeo for the knockout, and then, power out my Mewtwo, Catcher out his Mewtwo, X-Ball for the game. That's all it takes. I'll win. 4 prizes are laid out for me. With the help of energy switches, it should be pretty easy. And there we go. There's a Hydro Pump. And, oh, actually, Jason takes 2 prizes from the Hydro Pump. That's, Sigilyph is annoying, but, he doesn't give up 2 prizes. So I think we end up catching this. I hope we end up catching this. Because it's a very big deal. That influences the game completely. I'm going to Ultra Ball for a Ho-Oh, if I can, get it in the discard pile. Just to give myself as many rebirths as possible for that turn where I need it. But yeah, wow, he took 2 prizes for Sigilyph. You know, I mean, it's annoying. You have to attack it with a Blastoise, but it's still not an EX. It's only got 90 hit points. Again, I do think we realize this. It's just gonna take a while. And yeah, the game will be just fine, don't worry. So I have a catcher here, going right for that Keldeo EX with the 60 damage on it. Definitely going to go for the gold this turn. Going to Juniper that hand away and just go for the DCE. And alright, second card, I got it. And it's fine with me. That hand is pretty good. I'm even going to get an Eviolite. I can put that on Bouffalant if I want. It's going to make it very difficult for him to get a knockout on the Bouffalant. Seems like the way to go. And I can Ultra Ball away just, 2 more Pokemon. Might as well. Thin my deck out a little bit, so that maybe I can draw something a little more useful next turn. I'm just going to look, see what I have left. I might as well just grab, anything. Maybe a non-EX to put out there might not be a bad idea. Gonna look through, and I think this is where we realized how many prizes did you take for the Sigilyph? I mean, you've only knocked out a Mewtwo and a Sigilyph. That's 3 prizes. I discarded the Bouffalant with, Ultra Ball or Juniper or something. I obviously you've discarded the Ho-Ohs. And the only things you've knocked out are Sigilyph that previous turn with Hydro Pump, Mewtwo with your Secret Sword, and yeah. So I'm just showing Jason these are the only 2 Pokemon you've knocked out. Those are 3 prizes. I think we come to an agreement here. I've Ultra Balled away the Bouffalant. Nothing else has been knocked out. And now we enter a tricky situation, Since I know Jason so well, I trust him. And he has a very good memory for these sorts of things. I trust that he knows what 2 cards he took off his prizes. So I don't mind just kind of putting them back, and then he only gets to draw 1. I really don't want the finals to be decided by something silly like this. I mean, it's really late. Sigilyph is pretty annoying, honestly. I don't blame him. So I really don't want this to be decided by a silly penalty like this. I mean, it was a complete accident. If it were someone else, I mean, someone I didn't know very well, I would have a harder time dealing with this, saying that, there's no way I can know for sure. I mean, that should be a penalty. You have to look at your prizes. But, it's Jason. I want to just, I don't want any bad blood here. We're good friends. And I'm just going to trust him that he knows which prize, which 2 prizes he took. And I'm just going to put him back, and then he gets to grab one of them. Whatever. Not a big deal. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to figure this happen. It's 3 prizes to 4. I'm going to Gold Breaker this turn. And we'll see what happens. So alright, we got all that resolved. So I'm going to bench another Mewtwo, because why not at this point. And alright, I get a Juniper off my prizes, which is very huge. And it all comes down to this next couple turns here. Now, first of all, he's got to knock out my Bouffalant, which is easier said than done. It's got an Eviolite and the Boofer ability, so basically he has to do 140 damage to knock out Bouffalant. Now that means it's going to need, well, he's got 5 energy on Blastoise already, that's doing 110. He needs 3 more water on the Blastoise to knock out my Bouffalant. That is an option. I've never seen a Blastoise with this many energy, but it can happen. And, you know, if he does that, that puts me in a weird spot. Because really my way to win is going to be catching out a Mewtwo and X-balling it with my Mewtwo and winning the game. Pretty simple. He might have enough energy left. You know, you could just say, well, why don't you just X-ball the Blastoise for 3,000 damage? It's got 10 energy on it already. I can do that. But then all it takes for him is 2 more energy on his Mewtwo, and I get X-balled and I lose. So really, I don't want to attack unless I can win the game straight out. Now, Jason, he's going to promote his Blastoise. I would think he's going to promote Blastoise. Promoting Mewtwo here is pretty much suicide, I would think. You know, attacking with Mewtwo, when I got 2 Mewtwo sitting there, that's really risky. So yeah, he's just going to say, alright, I'm going to go with Blastoise, whatever. We'll see what happens. And, let's see. So he's going to Energy Retrieval, get back 2 water. I mean, he's got to be running low on water energy at this point, but he might have just enough to knock me out with Hydro Pump, and then, you know, have enough left in his deck to X-ball me for the win. That's a scary, scary thing to think about. Lots of stuff can happen here. So he's got 5 on Blastoise right now. That's 110. He needs 3 more to knock me out. He's got the 3 he needs. Ugh. Now this is just going to come down to either what I draw, or it's going to come down to a guessing game. It's going to come down to, do I think Jason has the cards to win or not? And man, this is a scary, scary thing from my side. But if I draw everything, I'll end up winning. So I guess it's not too scary. Now this is just going to be, for Jason's point of view, it's just going to be so tough to decide what you want to do. If you commit all these energy to a Blastoise, geez. I mean, you can look at his hand. He really does not have much else. He's going to Ultra Ball away the Keldeo and the Tropical Beach. He's going to think about it. But the problem with that is, if he discards his last Keldeo EX, that might be his last one. If he discards that, I can actually catcher out his other Blastoise. And it's got a 4 retreat cost, right? 3 or 4. And he might not have enough energy to retreat. Which means he's going to deck out first. So that's just the situation we're in. He realizes that. I actually did this once in a testing game to him. I'm just going to count the energy on Blastoise there. That is 8 water on the Blastoise. But yeah, I did this to him in a testing game where he ran out of Keldeos and I stranded a Blastoise active and he decked out. So I think he just kind of had a flashback there. He's like, whoa, I'm not falling for that one again. And I can just see there are a bunch of Keldeo EXs in his discard pile, so he does not want to fall for that again. And here we go. The moment of truth. Can I pull off the big Mewtwo turn? I do have a bunch of energy switches left. I do have that plus power left. So, I don't know. I have a Juniper. If I get a Rebirth this turn, a DC, catcher, energy switch, the game is over. I can X-ball for the win, since there's just a water hanging there on his bench Mewtwo. If I miss, it's going to get pretty scary. So this is, again, where knowing how many resources you have left is a very big deal. And I'm going to draw my 7 and... no catcher. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's kind of scary. Now I could lose. You know, if he just has like a Juniper and draws a couple more energy and I can lose. That's pretty scary. I missed the cards I needed. I could just go for the X-Ball. I really could. Knowing how many water he's gone through, knowing how many retrievals he's gone through, I could just attach a DC and X-Ball. But then all it takes is 2 water energy and I lose. I lose the game. I lose the tournament. And you can see it's just an extremely difficult decision for me. And I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to count how many cards he's gone through. How many water have you gone through? How many retrievals have you gone through? How many catches have you gone through? What is left? There is about 15 energy on your Blastoise. You can't have that many left, can you? But I know exactly how many he played at the time. I think it was 14 or 15. I know there's 8 on his Blastoise. There's 2 in play. There's 2 on the Mewtwo's. I don't think there's any in his discard pile. So there's at least 3 or 4 left. And that means there's enough for him to X-Ball me for a knockout. Which means I have to kind of play it safe. It's a bummer that I had to waste that plus power here. That is not cool. But that's whatever. So I'm going to put down Terrakion and switch to it just to make it that much more difficult for him to kind of win the game. Yeah, I don't know. Something else that could happen is, let's see, his Blastoise is doing 140, I think, with Hydro Pump. He get extra catcher on my other Mewtwo with 3 more water. So I'm going to go for Super Scoop Up. And then we're going to see if that roll counts. And no, it's not flat, so I get to re-roll it, apparently. I don't think this actually matters, but I get to re-roll it, I suppose. I'm just going to pick up the Mewtwo as like an extra precaution. Because if he has 3 water and a catcher, he could Hydro Pump Mewtwo for the game-winning knockout. Now, I could attach the DC to my Mewtwo this turn and just say, you know what, I don't think you have a catcher and an energy, a catcher and 2 energy, but I know what I have left in my deck. At least I'm pretty sure I know what I have left. This is where it's scary, where if you haven't memorized everything, you're freaking out, because you're like, oh god, if just like 1 card is prized, I actually end up losing this. So, this is very scary. But I'm going to Tropical Beach. I'm not going to attach my energy there. I'm not going to do it. I'm paranoid of him just having like a Juniper and then catching out my Mewtwo. Or, yeah, catching out my Mewtwo, having 2 energy, and then X-balling me for the knockout. I'm just too paranoid of that. And, man, this is rough. Really, next turn I'm going to need a Rebirth Heads, which I think I have 3 Ho-Ohs in there, so that shouldn't be too tough. And then I need to draw 2 energy switches, which I do have 2 left, exactly 2 left. A catcher, and then I can X-ball his Mewtwo for the win. If any piece of that puzzle is missing, I am going to lose. Sadly, I will actually lose to a Blastoise Hydro Pumping me to death. Embarrassing, but that's just the way it is. So yeah, it's all going to come down to... I mean, it doesn't look like Jason has the cards to win this turn. He does not have 3 energy, 4 energy, and a catcher, I guess you would need. That's unlikely. And he's just going to take the Hydro Pump, I think. Knock out Terrakion. And just say, you know what, if you got it, you got it. That's all he can do at this point. So there is a Hydro Pump. Here comes Mewtwo. And this is about as nerve-wracking as it could get for me. Because it all depends on this. If I have all the cards in there, if I have the energy switch in there, I can Juniper for them and just win. If I need energy switch and catcher, I already have an energy switch in my hand. If there's an energy switch and a catcher left in my deck, I win. But if there's not, I believe there's 2 catchers left and 1 was prized. If my 4th energy switch is prized, and then I Juniper, and then I don't see it, I lose. And not only do I lose, but I look like an idiot on camera for not knowing what's in my prizes. So there is a lot of pressure here. I think earlier I did. I searched for energy switches. I knew how many I had left. But, you know, when it gets to this pressure, and this late in the day, this late in the tournament, I don't know. I don't remember. Is there an energy switch left in there or not? I've played a lot of games today. A lot of them blend together. And, yikes. I just don't know. It's all just going to come down to this. Is the fourth energy switch in my deck or not? And I just want to make sure before I go for it, what are my options? Do I have any other options? I don't just want to put everything all on the line here if I'm not 100% positive. If I know I can get away with trying to buy another turn, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to gamble if I don't have to. But looking at everything, I really think the best way to go about it is just trust myself, trust that the energy switch is not prized. Go for the rebirth, energy switch to energy onto the Mewtwo, put the DC catcher, and win the tournament. But man, it's tough when you just know that. I mean, it's all on you. It's all on. You should know what's left. You should know what's in your prizes. And here we go, rebirth number 1. Get a heads, so there's obstacle number 1. At least I didn't get a 3 tails turn there. That would have been very bad. Gonna get 3 energy back. And here we go. Ho-Oh coming out here for his last shining turn here. DCE onto Mewtwo. We're going to play an energy switch. This is pretty much just all in at this point. And Juniper, I'm going to draw my entire deck. There we go. Is the energy switch and the catcher in there? If it is, I'm going to win. And there's the energy switch. And there is the catcher. And I breathe in a sigh of relief. And yeah, Jason just showing me that, if I didn't have it, he would have just X-balled me for the game. So this is literally as close as a game could get. All coming down to the wire. Every last resource. Ho-Oh coming in just for the rebirth to save the day. And yeah, one of my catchers was prized, but the energy switch I needed was not. So somehow, someway, I pull this one off. A very, very, very close match. Very well played by Jason. Very excited to get the win, keep my winning streak alive, and get a win for Ho-Oh. But man, that was intense. So thank you guys for watching. I'm Pooka here from the Top Cut. We will have more City Championship coverage soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this very, very long match, and I will see you guys next time.